guys, welcome to another episode of MrLopezClasses.com. This is our diesel engines course. This is the chapter 11, cooling system. In this chapter we have a lot of episodes. I hope you enjoy this chapter. Okay, my friends, we are going to start with the cooling systems. In the previous episode, we studied the lubrication system. And I explained to you that the captain should be checking two important gauges: the oil pressure gauge and the temperature gauge. What temperature gauge? The coolant temperature gauge. There are two temperature gauges in a diesel engine, in a marine diesel engine, marine. The coolant temperature is very, very important. Where is located that sensor? The sensor to check the temperature of the coolant. Yes, on the thermostat housing. Perfect. All right. Another important gauge for temperature is the exhaust gases temperature. The gauge for the exhaust gases. Yes, why in marine application is critical, the temperature of the exhaust gases. In a marine engine is critical because remember that after the elbow that you have on the screen right now, in that video, after that elbow, the salt water is mixed with the gases. Yeah, in that point, the salt water is mixed with the gases. If the temperature over there in that point increase, is because salt water is not passing through that elbow, and this is an indication that you don't have refrigeration on the different heat exchangers. We are going to study how many heat exchangers we have. For that reason, normally in that elbow you have a sensor, the exhaust gas temperature sensor. That's the sensor that you have on the screen right now. Alright, this is very important. Yes, we have two gauges. The gauge to check temperature. One gauge for the coolant temperature and other gauge for the temperature of the exhaust gases. And we are going to study in details, carefully, those sensors, where are located, and how should be installed those sensors. Exactly the same like we did with the lubrication system. Yes, the temperature is one factor, critical factor, and the life of any type of engine, gas or diesel, depend of the temperature, the administration of the temperature. Let me tell to you something before we continue. How many times you need in normal operation, in normal conditions, how many times per month, per year, you need added coolant in your car? Normally, never. You never need added coolant. If you need added frequently coolant to the reservoir in your car, it's because you have a leak. No, I don't have a leak. You have a leak. No, I check. You have a leak. For that reason, you need added extra coolant each week. No, it's a little. You have a little leak. Alright? No, but I check in the driveway on my home, in the garage. In the evening, I put paper. No coolant. Probably the leak is during the operation of the engine, when the engine is running. The leak is, this is a typical failure on the coolant pump, the fresh water pump or circulating pump. We are going to study that pump. Yes, my friend, you have a leak. Believe me. If you have a leak, you have intrusion of air. If you have intrusion of air, you remember in a diesel engine when you compress the air, what happens when you have air in a fluid and the fluid is compressed, the bubble expands and the temperature goes up, and you have high temperature in your car, in your boat, in your engine. Yes, my friends. The problems related with temperature start in the moment that a small bubble of air enter in the closed system, because it's supposed that the cooling system in your car, in your boat, is hermetic, is closed. You never need added coolant because the system is completely closed. If you need added coolant, it's because you have a leak. If you have a leak, you have intrusion of air, and for that reason, right now, your engine is running at high temperature. That's not good. That's the worst scenario. All right? Okay, we are going to check what happened in those cases, and we are going to check specific in marine engines why check the temperature is important, and why if the engine runs constantly at higher temperature than the normal, you can ruin the engine, you can destroy the engine. All right? Okay, my friends, the first point, one number that you need to keep in mind is 180 degrees Fahrenheit. This is like a magic number. In general terms, 180 degrees Fahrenheit is the middle point. This is the operational temperature in the majority of diesel engines. 180. Right now we are I have a slide with the different brands, the different manufacturers, and the range of temperature per each one. But 180 is in the middle of all of them. In other words, if you keep in mind 180, you can administrate your engine properly. Yes, 180 is a typical operational temperature for the majority of diesel engines. 180, very, very, very important. This is coolant temperature. This is not the temperature in the combustion chamber. Be careful with that. This is coolant temperature. Alright? Coolant temperature. For that reason, you need to keep in your pocket this element. The laser for temperature. The temperature gun. Yeah. You need one of these in the engine room. You need one of these in the pilot hand. You need one of these in your pocket. This is very, 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 very important. Not only for main engines. It's important for generators. It's important for the compressor of air conditioning equipment. It's important for the high pressure pump in water makers. It's important for all the equipment, marine equipment. You need check temperature. Temperature is the enemy. All the problems start with the temperature increase. Alright? Okay, 180 is the temperature of the coolant. Yeah? And we are going to study later where you need pointed the gun to check the temperature. Yes, on the thermostat housing. This is one important point. But I am going to recommend other 3 additional points. Okay, my friend. And what is the temperature? What is the temperature appropriate to ignite the diesel when the diesel enter in the combustion chamber? Should be around 1000 degrees Fahrenheit. Is in between 1000 and 1400. This is the regular operational temperature in the combustion chamber. Depends on the compression ratio of the engines. But 1000 degrees Fahrenheit is the minimum to ignite the fuel. There are engines with diesel engines with a low compression ratio, and they require 750 degrees Fahrenheit to ignite. But in general, it's around 1000 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, keep in mind that number. Okay, remember, to ignite the fuel properly, we need 2 conditions. One condition is that the pressure be good pressure. Remember, the pressure for diesel engine should be over 600 psi. Depend on the diesel engine, depend on the compression ratio. But there are diesel engines with the pressures in the combustion chamber superior to 2000, 3000 psi. right? Okay, the pressure should be one factor. How can I get the properly pressure? Yes, good seal on the piston rings. That's number one. Other one is good seal on the valves. The valves close properly. Number two. Number three, good seal on the head gasket. Perfect. And no cracks on the head and no cracks on the cylinder. That's it. Yeah, that's the way to check, to keep good compression. How can I check my compression? With the compression test. All right. Okay, perfect. This is for pressure. And now the temperature. How can I get that temperature? The appropriate temperature. Okay, if you have a properly cooling system. If the coolant surrounded the block and the head, circulate with the properly temperature. All right, and circulate with no air, and circulate clean, and circulate at the speeds recommended. All of those factors affect the temperature of the coolant and, of course, the temperature of the block and the head. All right? Okay, magic numbers. Temperature in between 1000 and 1400 degrees Fahrenheit, and the pressures are in between 600 psi and 2000 psi. All right? We are going to continue with those numbers clear in order to study the next chapters. Are wonderful chapters. We are going to study cooling system, fuel systems. We are going to understand the different type of fuel injection system, mechanical fuel injection system, electronic fuel injection system, how the computer works with the fuel injection pump, and after that we are going to analyze internally the fuel injection pump, how the fuel injection pump works, the injectors. We are going to check the injectors. I have a tester to check the injectors, and after that we are going to check the codes, all the codes related with the computer, and how is the reading of those codes, and what is the procedure to clean those codes, and what is the procedure to troubleshoot those codes. This is a wonderful chapter, and at the end we are going to check the turbochargers and the superchargers, and I am going to explain the procedure to calculate the turbo. If you have a diesel engine naturally aspirated and you want to convert that engine into supercharger or turbocharger, I'm going to explain the procedure to calculate the turbo. Yeah, this is a nice chapter. I hope you enjoyed that chapter. And finally, I am going to explain the procedure to convert your boat from gasoline into diesel. Yeah, we are going to check all the parameters necessary to be verified in the boat in order to remove the gasoline engines and replace those gasoline engines for new diesel engines. Yes, you need some small modifications, probably on the stringers, on the fuel tank, the battery cables, additional fuel lines for return, and, but it's not dramatic. You can do that. You are ready. You have the knowledge to do that. Okay, my friend. Don't forget those magic numbers, temperature and pressure. Okay? Yes, of course. In a diesel engine, the fuel ignites when the fuel is injected into the hot compressed air in the cylinder. For that reason, the appropriate temperature and pressures are critical in order to avoid other consequences that right now we are going to check. For example, the efficiency. I repeat and repeat that the diesel engines are superior in efficiency in comparison with the gas engine, of course. Yeah, the majority of the diesel engine, they have a thermal efficiency superior to 50%. A regular diesel engine naturally aspirated, the efficiency is in between 75% and 85%. This is high efficient. And if you supercharge the engine or turbocharge the engine, yeah, the efficiency is around 90%. It's wonderful. This is only possible in diesel. For that reason, in the chapter dedicated to fuel systems, I have a special video in order to explain why the problems of pollution in the world right now It's not because the diesel engines. It's not because the diesel engines. It's because the quality of the diesels, the quality of the fuels in different countries. We are going to talk later about that. Okay, my friends. And right now we are going to check the compression ratio. The compression ratio is critical, and depending on the compression ratio, we need a different type of injection, of fuel injection. Remember, in a typical gasoline engines, naturally aspirated, the compression ratio is normally 8 to 1, 10 to 1 in a typical gasoline engines. In a diesel engine naturally aspirated, the compression ratio is around 22 to 1. And when you supercharge the engine, the compression ratio, you remember, goes into 60 to 1 until 160 to 1. It's too much air with the same portion of fuel. Yeah, when you check the air fuel ratio, and in a diesel engine supercharged, the efficiency is too high, because right now you can introduce 160 portions of air with the same one portion of fuel, and you produce a better explosion. 4 or 5 times, the power is 4 or 5 times than the power of the detonation in the same engine naturally aspirated. Yes, this is the secret of the diesel engine. You can introduce a lot of air in the cylinder. Why? Because those cylinders, the seal on the combustion chamber is perfect. For that reason, the secret is keep the quality of the piston rings perfect. Keep the quality of the valves closing, opening and closing properly, and the seal on the head gasket. If the combustion chamber is properly sealed, you can supercharge the engine a lot, and you can increment the efficiency hundreds of times. Okay, my friends, and one important thing that I need that you keep in mind for the rest of this class is this. When the fuel enter into the injector, and when the fuel enter in the combustion chamber, the fuel enter should be liquid, no vapor. If the fuel enter liquid, immediately become vapor and ignite. But if the fuel enter vapor, immediately become supersaturated vapor and destroy the head of the valves and destroy elements in the combustion chamber. It's clear, my friends? For that reason, it's critical the temperature of the fuel before the fuel enter in the injector. For that reason, it's critical the temperature of the fuel before the fuel enter in the fuel injection pump. For that reason, it's very important in a diesel engines install one cooler, one heat exchanger dedicated to the fuel. One heat exchanger exclusive to reduce the temperature of the fuel before the fuel enter in the fuel injection pump. All right? We are going to study later the different type of heat exchangers and where are located in the engine, in a typical diesel engine. Yes, the fuel should be liquid at the main entrance of the combustion chamber in order to avoid vapor lock. Yeah, my friend, this is the typical sound in the diesel engines. The start of vaporization causes a delay period during the ignition, and the characteristics of the knocking sound at the vapor-rich ignition temperature. Yeah, for that reason, the majority of the pistons in diesel engine, they have the pocket, the special pocket, in order to encapsulate that sound, and two functions: concentrate the force in the center of the connecting rod and encapsulate the noise in that pocket, and reduce the typical noise produced for the diesel engines. Okay, this is the characteristic of a typical diesel engine. Okay, my friends, once again, the temperature is critical. The temperature of the coolant, also the temperature of the fuel, the temperature of the oil. For that reason, we are going to install different heat exchangers to reduce the temperature of the motor oil, to reduce the temperature of the fuel, to reduce the temperature of the coolant, to reduce the temperature of the air. Yes, because if the air enters in the combustion chamber too hot, produce the same problem like if the fuel enter vapor, produce vapor lock. Both of them, air too hot, saturated, or fuel vapor, produce vapor lock. Yes, for that reason there is another heat exchanger dedicated to reduce the temperature of the air coming from the turbo too hot because the pressure increased, enter in the intercooler or aftercooler, reduce the temperature, and after that enter in the combustion chamber with high pressure but low temperature. That's very important. Yeah, we have a lot of heat exchangers and other heat exchanger to reduce the temperature of the fluid of the transmission, the transmission oil, and other heat exchanger to reduce the temperature of the power steering fluid. 6 heat exchangers, yes, 6. We are going to check where are located and how, with the same flow of raw water, of salt water, you reduce the temperature of all of those fluids. We are going to refresh the fluids: motor oil, transmission oil, hydraulic oil, fuel, coolant, and air. 6 fluids. Yeah, 6 heat exchangers in a typical marine diesel engine. Oh, my marine diesel engine only have 3 heat exchangers. Yes, there are marine engines that no included, for example, intercooler or aftercooler, probably because the engine is naturally aspirated. Okay, but there are diesel engines that they don't included heat exchanger to reduce the temperature of the fuel. Yes, probably is an all diesel engine with mechanical fuel injection system. We are going to study later those systems and why they don't need reduce the temperature of the fluid for that specific system. Yeah, but in general, in a typical diesel engine, modern diesel engine, new diesel engine, you found it in between 5 and 6 heat exchangers, different heat exchangers. Okay, my friend. For example, what happened in this picture? What happened with that truck? Black smoke. A lot of black smoke. For what reason? Give me one example. Yes. Okay. The first one. Rich mixture. Okay. Perfect. Rich mixture. Other one. Yes. Clogged air filter. Air filter clogged. Other one. For problem with the injectors. A couple of injectors stay open all the time, they are damaged, or calibration of fuel injection pump. Okay, bad injectors, or a fuel injection pump, properly calibrated. Other opportunity, other option for that excessive amount of black smoke on that engine. Yes, the oxygen sensor, problem with the oxygen sensor, O2 sensor. Problem with the air intake temperature sensor. The air intake temperature sensor problem. And there are other 10 additional options. Yes, we are going to study all of those options in detail. All of those are possible. Other is bad fuel. The fuel is contaminated with the water. Bad fuel. Yeah. And I can continue. I'm going to stop because this is the rest of the class. Yes, you see a lot of options for the black smoke. Yeah. But the temperature is the number one. The temperature is the number one. We are going to check what happened, for what reason that motor in this moment produce the excessive black smoke. Oh, other problem is on the turbo. The turbo is broken. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of opportunities, a lot of options for that situation. But the temperature is the number one. The temperature is the number one. Let me check this. This slide is very, very important. When the engines are running too cold, low temperature, hydrocarbon emissions increase, the fuel efficiency decrease, and the engine wear increase dramatically. In general terms, it's better run a diesel engine in the higher limit of the range of temperature. A little hot. In gasoline, no. In gasoline, it's better at lower temperature. In diesel, no. When the engine runs over the limit, too high, too hot, that's not good. Too much oxides of nitrogen. This is not good because if the engine produces too much nitrous oxides, when the smoke is mixed with the salt water in the elbow outside, produce nitric acid. That's not good for the environment. That's not good for the sea, for the water. And also, if the engine is running too hot, the wear, of course, increment, and the efficiency goes down. Both scenarios are no good. Too hot, no good. Too cold, no good. You need to run the engine in the limit, in the range, in the middle of the range. For that reason, we are going to check the different type of temperature range recommended for different manufacturers. Remember, what is the magic number? 180 degrees. What happened with Caterpillar? In general, Caterpillar, the range is in between 160 and 210. Okay, Caterpillar have a 40 degrees of a window. Okay, perfect. And what about Cummins? The window of Cummins is pretty close, in between 170 and 190. Only 20 degrees. Of course, 180 is in the middle. But you need to check the temperature constantly because the limit is pretty close. What about Detroit? Oh, Detroit is similar to Caterpillar. It's in between 160 and 210. Okay, you have a big window. Volvo. Okay. Volvo is nothing. In between 190 and 200. In other words, in Volvo, 180 is too cold. Oh, nice. For that reason, check the manufacturer recommendation. Be careful. Not the Lopez recommendation, the manufacturer recommendations. Okay, what about Mack? Okay, Mack is in between 170 and 210. Well, it's okay. 30 degrees. And Yanmar. Oh, Yanmar is similar to Cummins. Yanmar is pretty close. Yanmar is only 20 degrees of difference. Alright? But those are the typical range of temperature. For that reason, my friends, this is very important. I'm going to explain how to use the temperature gun, and how to administrate the temperature in your engine, and how to keep the strainer, the raw water pump, the heat exchanger in good condition. Okay, my friend, this is our first episode, and now in the next episode we are going to study the different type of cooling system. There are 3 types of cooling system, and we are going to study those cooling systems.